Within minutes, the runaway test was setting its own airfield on fire. The device was not a conventional missile or a standard bomb. Inside the metal canister was a colony of sleeping bats. The experiment depended on tiny timed capsules designed to activate later. The plan was to scatter them above vulnerable target zones. But the bats woke too early and found dark shelter. Then the rooftops began to smoke, proving the idea worked too well.
The story began a year earlier, right after Pearl Harbor.
The United States was actively searching for unconventional wartime concepts.
Some tactical weapons proposals were entirely practical for deployment.
Others sounded almost impossible to execute in the field. One came from a Pennsylvania dentist named Lytle S.
Adams was deeply fascinated by bats of the American Southwest. They were small, numerous, and capable of carrying surprising weight. More importantly, they searched instinctively for dark, hidden shelter.
Attics. Roof spaces.
Adams saw an incredible opportunity inside this unique biological trait.
The intended target areas contained dense clusters of wooden buildings.
Conventional air raids always struck targets strictly from above. Bats could easily reach hidden spaces aircraft struggled to affect. His proposal was simple, strange, and deeply unsettling to planners.
Cool the bats until they entered a sleep-like state.
Place them securely inside a specialized industrial parachute canister. Design a tiny delayed capsule light enough for the concept. Then release the container over targets right before dawn. The bats would wake naturally as the canister descended. They would scatter organically across miles of urban rooftops and vanish into places where firefighters could not easily reach. It sounded like the plot of a pulp magazine.
But Adams sent the bizarre idea straight to the White House. The president did not dismiss the proposal immediately. The proposal was wild, but it was worth investigating. Soon, scientists and military planners were heavily involved.
The project officially moved from absurd suggestion to classified experiment.
The bats had to be small enough to travel densely, strong enough to carry the microcapsule device smoothly, and predictable enough to disappear into buildings before sunrise.
Mexican free-tailed bats appeared to fit the mission parameters. Millions lived in vast caves across the American Southwest.
Now the military needed a capsule light enough to carry.
The specialized payload could not be heavy for the animals.
It also could not activate too early during flight. The entire operational concept depended heavily on timing.
The bats needed time to wake up during descent.
Time to fly away safely into the target zone.
Time to locate a dark, protected hiding place.
Only then could the timed microcapsule safely activate.
Researchers developed a compact, delayed heat capsule prototype.
One lighter version weighed less than 20 grams total.
Small enough to seem almost completely harmless on inspection.
Dangerous enough to start smoke inside a wooden structure.
The bats themselves became part of the delivery mechanism.
No complex guidance system.
Driven entirely by raw biological instinct.
Planners needed a container capable of carrying 1,000 animals. Its exterior closely resembled a conventional aerial canister device, but the interior looked more like a layered egg crate. During the descent, a parachute would slow the fall.
The internal trays would unfold smoothly in the warmer air.
The bats would awaken and fly free into the sky. At least, that was the official theory on paper.
Early live testing quickly exposed a very difficult problem.
Some bats did not warm up quickly enough during release. Instead of flying into the air, they fell downward. A system relying on biology could not behave like a machine. Every single experimental variable mattered for success. Temperature fluctuations, tactical altitude, mechanical timing, even the animal's natural willingness to cooperate with researchers. The laboratory engineers kept actively refining the delivery system. New internal trays opened much more reliably during testing. The bats had more time to wake before release.
Some technical trials finally began to look very promising.
The bats scattered smoothly across the designated test area. They located narrow openings in roofs and empty walls,
operating exactly as Lytle Adams had originally predicted.
But in May 1943, a demonstration happened accidentally. Researchers were carefully preparing test animals for a trial. The New Mexico sun warmed them too quickly inside staging. Before the team could contain them, the bats escaped. The animals did what bats naturally do under stress. President Franklin Roosevelt did not dismiss the proposal immediately. They invaded the wooden airfield control tower structure. They swarmed into hangars holding period transport aircraft. They slipped into base offices and empty barracks buildings. Then the internal timed capsules began to activate silently. Plumes of dark smoke appeared above the airfield buildings. Small smoke trails quickly became a larger base emergency.
The secret tactical project was heavily classified.
Base personnel could only watch from behind locked gates.
The rogue experiment had turned against its own site. The accidental airfield fire was an absolute technical disaster.
It was also an undeniable proof of concept.
The bats entered spaces conventional weapons might miss entirely. They created multiple ignition points before anyone could respond.
The absurd concept appeared to be disturbingly effective.
The Army Air Forces stepped back from the program. But the bizarre tactical concept did not disappear. The Navy took official control in August 1943. The classified project received a brand new codename, X-ray. Technical evaluation testing continued under strict maritime supervision. The concept was evaluated against specially constructed test structures. Released bats dispersed naturally into the empty buildings. Smoke trails appeared in scattered, completely inaccessible places. In theory, one aircraft could create thousands of fires, distributed far more widely than a conventional strike. But the ingenious feature also made it completely unreliable. Living animals are definitely not predictable military machines. They cannot be programmed to follow a strategic map. They seek shelter wherever natural instinct leads them. The military fundamentally needed predictable, standardized systems. Project X-ray offered far too many dangerous uncertainties. The program was discontinued before the bats reached combat. The project never entered actual wartime combat operations. The biological system never entered formal military service. But for one chaotic morning in New Mexico fields, a colony of bats demonstrated something deeply uncomfortable. The declassified idea was undeniably strange and bizarre. The biological weapon concept was completely unpredictable. And the most disturbing part was that it almost worked.